Hey, it's Mrs. D, and I make videos about something students hate, doing research. I used to be one of those students and routinely phoned it in, until I had to teach it. So I set out on a quest, find a way to make doing academic research and writing research papers as painless as possible. I focus solely on MLA format and citations, so if you're looking for Chicago or APA style, I'm not going to be helpful. Maybe one day, but today's not looking so hot and tomorrow's not promising either. So, if you're ready, let's go on an MLA journey in research. Today's part of the journey. Hi, I'm Mrs. D, and this is Plagiarism. Start with a scenario I ask all of my classes. Imagine you're part of a group project. You've had several weeks to complete the project, and everyone was assigned tasks. Predictably, one person did the bare minimum, if anything, on the project, and everyone else had to take up the slack. Finally, the project was turned in. When your graded project was returned, everyone got the same grade regardless of actual effort made. How did that make you feel to know the slacker got the same grade as everyone else that busted their butts? Crummy, right? That's what happens when you don't cite, or sufficiently cite, your sources. Someone else busted their butt to churn out something great, and you're taking all the credit for it. At that rate, you may as well hand in the source with a post-it note on the front stating, "I agree with this." But you're a details person. You give credit where credit's due and include those verbal fist bumps to let your teacher know you've put in the time. But what if you don't? This is where things can get murky. It depends on a few things. The number and nature of offenses. Missing a reference here or there, especially in early drafts when maybe you're not sure, is understandable. That, after all, is what the review process is for. Having friends, classmates, a tutor, or other person look over your draft for these things can be of great benefit. Missing references in the final drafts in particular are what get students in trouble the most. The policy of the teacher. Most, if not all, teachers will spell out explicitly in the syllabus and or the assignment sheet their thoughts on plagiarism. Always defer to that. The policy of the department or school. Above all, teachers are bound to uphold the rules of their respective departments and schools and will base their policies on that. So, what can happen? Well, that depends on the policy in the books. Most teachers are willing to work with students to rectify issues regarding accidental plagiarism. Typically, if caught in the drafting phase of the assignment, the worst that can happen is a lowered grade on a draft and everyone moves along. When it happens in a final draft, that's when things can go sideways. Even unintentional plagiarism can land a student in hot water. At minimum, you'll fail the assignment. At worst, the class. I'm an eternal optimist, but have a real-world anecdote to keep me grounded. I was in graduate school and taking some undergrad courses that I had missed to make up a deficiency. And at the end of a semester, I was called to my lit teacher's office to discuss a final research paper I'd turned in. I'd used an online source and thought I'd cited it well, both in text and works cited page. It was, after all, my writing major that I was relying on, and this was part and parcel for the course. I arrived to see it covered in yellow highlighter. It was explained to me that I'd plagiarized and was reported to the school's disciplinary board. I couldn't fix my errors or write a new paper. Trust me, I asked. My instructor was a stickler for the rules and wasn't open to discussion. I could have taken a trial of sorts in which I'd have to present my case before a panel, or I could take what comes down to a plea deal. I took the plea. I received a failing grade for the course. I'd write a letter to the editor of the school paper explaining my plight, and I'd take a plagiarism workshop and be on academic probation for the next semester. I'd love to say that my case is an extreme, that it's rare. There were definitely things I could have done to help myself, both before turning in the assignment and during the inquisition process. It's also why I'm making these videos. If I can save one student the hassle of having to go through that, it's a win. I'm in no way implying my fate is your fate. Your mileage may vary. My plea is this: get as many eyes on your paper as possible to catch things. Take advantage of resources at your disposal, tutors, writing centers, instructor office hours, and ask questions. This is especially important if you're dealing with a final draft. It's better to take that extra time, feel like you're inconveniencing everyone, and having citation errors caught than to leave everything up to fate and suffer consequences that could have been avoided. This is the end of the first series of videos. Coming soon, deeper dives into specific topics that I've touched on here. Until then, happy researching! Thanks for joining me on this journey in MLA research. If you have any questions, please leave something in the comments, send me an email at englishresearchmla@gmail.com, or send a tweet to @MLA Research Help. Like, retweet, share, and cite your sources.